Right then, this is a quick walk around video, and this is for a Honda Civic 1.4 SE. 63 plates, as you can see. Car's covered 62,000 miles, I think. Just completely gone out of my head actually. I will check that when I get back into the car. Finished in white, which always looks good on these Civics. This car comes with a full Honda service history. It's been very, very well looked after. Front of the car is lovely and clean. Likewise bonnet, which hardly exhibits a stone chip anywhere. Near side of the car, beautifully smooth in the panels, no car parking indentations that are immediately obvious. Near side front alloy, very good, just minor curbing on the outside edge, and given that's the one that's closest to the curb, it's the one that generally takes all of the bashing, but it's done rather well. Rear alloy again, very good indeed. Around the back, lovely and clean. Couple of lots of minor touch-ins done over the years on the entry points there, but I mean they're minor, so I'm being really nitpicking. Offside, driver's side, again beautifully smooth in the panel work. Offside rear alloy, again lovely. And the panel work's absolutely beautiful on the car. It really is in exceptionally good condition for a car this age. It's 10 years old and yet there's hardly a mark on it, in all honesty. Coming to the back of the car, cavernous boots, always nicely finished on the Hondas, been kept very well. Coming to the back of the car now, again all very clean and tidy. For some reason my videos make the seats look a little bit pinky, they're not, they are black, and it's been kept really well. To the front of the passenger side, again all lovely and clean. Passenger seat being given absolutely minimal use. Finally coming to the driver's door card, again lovely and clean. Same with the footwell areas, driver's seat, which 10 years old and has been kept very well. So inside the car now, dashboard, also the engine's running as always, so I can get the dashboard illuminated for you, but it's in beautiful condition in here. Just going to the main dash binnacle there, and that's the view you get as a driver from one of these Civics. Absolutely stunning, I have to say. No warning lights on the dashboard at all whilst the engine's running. If I just pan in up here for you, hope you can see 62,000 actually, 533 miles, and there are no warning lights on the dashboard at all whilst the engine's in operation. Finally, just to show you, owner's manual pack and lock and wheel nut key, all here and present with the car. Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic 1.4 SE. Car's registered KX63VTM, and mileage at the start of the road test is 62,533 miles. The reason, as always, for doing these videos is very simple. It's to ensure that if anyone's online looking at any of our cars, they get to see that car in operation. The reason we feel it's important is, like lots of people, we've been to see cars which have looked perfectly good in photographs or description, only to get there and find out when you drive it it's got an obvious fault that shows up, so we should much rather known about before setting off. Also done on these very quiet country roads in this beautiful part of Gloucestershire. This actually forms part of the road test route we take our customers on, and hope is then it will be representative of what you'd feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. So coming to the car, as you'll hopefully know from the advert, this has been an exceptionally well looked after car. It's got an absolutely full Honda service history attached to the vehicle, and you know it's immediate, obvious as soon as you drive the car. It just feels, you know, cliched as it sounds, it really feels like new to drive. It's just so tight and taut on the road. But going through all the things I always do on all of our cars, starting with the engine, which settles to a smooth, even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car, so I'm just going to make sure my volume's off on the phone. Temperature gauge running at a third, which is exactly where it's meant to be as well. It's all in fine order. Typical Honda 4-cylinder engine in the sense that it's absolutely brilliant. It does all the things you want of it. It's incredibly tough and reliable, they always are, but also it's just a lovely engine to use day in day out. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's refined, you know, it's flexible in the way it operates, but you put your foot down hard and keep it there and it'll respond as well. Its headline is obviously the economy you can get out of the cars quite clearly, but in every way, just driving the car daily, it really is a lovely unit, I have to say. Engine then feeds through into the clutch and gearbox of the car. Clutch on the car, as you'd expect with such a low mileage, absolutely spot on. Bike point's exactly where it's meant to be, and it's slick and smooth in operation. Gear change is your classic Honda affair. It's just brilliant in the sense that Honda put an awful lot of effort into ensuring that all of its major controls have a really substantial engineered feel to them. And the most commonly used, of course, is the steering wheel and the pedals and the gear lever, and the gear lever just has that lovely, slick, substantial feel to the gear change. It's your friend when you're changing gears. There's no kind of battling with it. The springing across the gate is absolute perfection, so just let it find its way home. But as it engages, it's so beautifully defined, it really is, and all the more remarkable because, like the vast majority of front-wheel drive cars these days, it's a cable that goes to the gear lever, the gear change rather, a gearbox even, crikey me. But because some of its competitors can feel so vague, light, lifeless, horrible, and this is how to do it, and that feels exactly as it would do when it was new. There's just zero wear in it. Steering of the car, the track's absolutely dead straight. There's no vibrations at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit, and the chassis and the steering are actually the stars of the show. It's a lovely car to drive. If you just want the car as a family car to run around in, it does everything you want. It's smooth, it handles really nicely, it rides brilliantly. But for those who may need a more practical car but have been used to something more sporty in the way the chassis feels, certainly, it's a lovely car because the steering is quick, accurate, absolutely precise, beautifully weighted. None of this sort of overlight steering, which I despise in cars, but it works with the chassis brilliantly because it all flows as one. As soon as you turn the wheel, the car digs in on the front end. It's got a brilliant front end on the car, but it doesn't unsettle the car in any way, so you can flow through corners with your fingertips on the steering wheel, and it's engaging. That's the rarity with this car. It's a car that you can enjoy driving rather than just using it as an appliance to get you from A to B, which again so many cars seem to be. But it really is a fabulous chassis to be able to achieve both of those things. Its ride, to give you some idea, this section of road here, which is like the surface of the moon, I used to feed back on any kind of noises or clonks or rattles from underneath, of which there are none, by the way, but it rides it so comfortably, and in every other way it does as well. Brakes in the car, just make sure no one's directly behind me. That's a really good brake pedal on the car, not to go absolutely mad, but they that initial bite, but that's all. The initial bite is also where you get any pulsing or vibrations generally on brake pedals, and this has none. They're powerful, but there's no vibrations at all coming through them. Finally, coming inside the car, I love these interiors. So this is where my bias can get in the way, but not in the way of the practicalities of what we're talking about today. The first thing you notice straight away when you get into a Honda of this generation is the build quality is really exceptional. Nice materials used, very nicely laid out, but no squeaks, no rattles. It feels rock solid. And then you've got this dash design, which, to my eyes at least, and I readily admit it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. What appeals to me doesn't necessarily appeal to others, but lots of people look at Civics because they like this interior. What I like about it is the fact that Honda kind of dared to be different, but at the same time, it's not just a gimmick. It's not just for show. It's there as a function. So the whole point of it is that you've got this two-tier design with the information display. The most conventional part is this center stack here, so it's so simple and easy to use. Nice big radio, you know, anyone can fathom that in 2 seconds. Climate control system, pumping out, by the way, ice cold air, works absolutely perfectly. But then in front of you, you've got this wonderful display. So you've got this two-tier design. Basically, the upper tier is the information you'll look at most commonly as you're driving along, but hopefully then will distract you less as a consequence. So you've got an information display pod up on the left-hand side. But if I do things like sort of change my fan speed or radio station, it has a small display here, but much larger one up there, which you can easily see. But the display that everyone looks at, you know, more than any other, is your speed. And there it is, all by itself, floating in the ether. It's genius. And the genius is that to my eyes is the fact that it's up there. I don't have to look at it particularly as I'm looking at the road. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see my speed at all times, and that's what's superb. In my humble opinion, they took a backward step on the next generation Civic, which is a brilliant car. I love them, by the way. But the digital display they put down back into a normal pod underneath. But somehow it gets lost. You know, you can still see it clearly, and by comparison to other manufacturers, it's better than all of them. But when you compare it to this, I don't understand why they did it. I really don't. But that is wonderful. And then below that, you've got this pod of 3 dials, big rev counter flanked by your temperature and fuel gauges. It's in lovely condition in here. As I said at the start of the video, the point of it, it's only brief, is to show you the car in operation, but to feedback on any issues at all, of which there are none. But more to the point, it just drives so well. As we say in the advert, by the way, this isn't going to be the cheapest example out there. It is going to be one of the best in terms of its condition, but certainly in terms of the way it drives and the service history attached to it. 'Cause in effect, that's what you're buying. You're buying the someone else's investment in the maintenance of the vehicle up to this point.